Picture this. You're on a vacation in Wyoming, the least populated state in the US. Miles of open roads, barren land, and no crowds. A place where the world feels far away. It's late at night, around 11 p.m., and you woke up in the middle of the night because you're feeling thirsty. You grab a bottle of water, sit down on the couch, and turn on the television. The news is currently on. They're talking about rising tensions between Russia and the United States, military movements and escalation, a very real warning about nuclear war, World War III. You have heard these kind of talks before, but again, you're not really into politics. These threats being made and different kinds of warmongering going on, these never seem real. Nothing new, nothing that ever actually happens. So you just finish your water and you go back to bed. You wake up at 10 a.m. in the morning. No alarms, no rush, because you're on a vacation, right? You reach for the bathroom light, but it doesn't turn on. You try another. It also doesn't turn on. Then you try to plug your phone into the charger, and it still doesn't work. The power is gone. At first, you don't panic. You assume it's just a power outage. Storms happen, lines go down. It will get fixed, right? Not that big of a deal, you think. So you do what you plan to do. You do your business in the bathroom, come back, have some breakfast, and then you sit in the living room because you have nothing else to do. That is when you notice something. A radio sitting right beneath the television. No internet, no power, no nothing. So you decide to turn on the radio to see what's happening.
This is an automated emergency transmission. If you are hearing this message, national communication networks have already failed. Major population centers are no longer responding. Emergency services are offline. Do not attempt to travel. Do not seek confirmation. If you are alive and receiving this broadcast, you are not part of the primary population.
That's the moment it hits you. The silence and the power outage isn't local. It's something much more than that. The broadcast was supposed to be aired only after a nuclear war. Yes, a nuclear pandemic. Now you're in a post-apocalyptic nuclear setting. The war didn't happen when you were watching. The war didn't happen when you were running. The war didn't happen when you were at home. The war happened when you were on a vacation in Wyoming. So, if you hear this broadcast, most people are already dead. Okay, wait. Let's backtrack a moment here. Let's see how we actually got here to this point.
From the dusty mesa, her looming shadow grows.
The world wasn't always like this. Just a few days ago, the cities were normal, people were going to their jobs, everyone was minding their own business. Politics, news, arguments, this all seemed kinda in the background. Sure, you noticed it, but you never paid much attention.
And then the tensions started rising. Reports of conflict between the United States and Russia. Warnings from officials, but nothing concrete. Most people ignored it. After all, wars like this had never escalated this far.
Had they? The war didn't happen in front of your eyes. It happened while you were sleeping in your shed. Every major US and Russian cities were hit by nuclear strikes, and even other countries got involved. And the world as you know it was gone by the morning. The power didn't fail immediately. It went on for a few hours, tricking everyone who was not asleep into thinking that everything was fine. But in fact, nothing was fine. emergency systems kicked in, and they started broadcasting messages, but only to the people who were actually left. By the time you woke up in Wyoming, everything was quiet. No traffic, no airplanes, no crowds. Except for one sound, of course, the broadcast. The broadcast. For a moment you don't move. The radio crackles, and the automated message repeats itself over and over again.
This is an automated emergency transmission. This is an automated emergency transmission.
And then you realize this broadcast message wasn't meant for you. It was meant for a world that has ended. The silence presses you inside, even in the cabin. No sound, no traffic, no humans. You step outside, the air is cold. The roads are quiet. No cars, no people. Even the shops seem unusually quiet. The town has gone completely silent and you are left alone. The nature is still there, but the humanity is gone. The people are dead. Well, most of them. This is how a post-nuclear world looks like. Most deaths don't happen from the blasts themselves, but because of the radiation fallout, the infrastructure collapse, and the lack of food and water and other resources. That's the main reason for the death toll post-nuclear war. Cities may still be standing, but the people are gone. You notice small details that make your chest tighten. A coffee mug left on the table, the television still turned on, a chair pushed aside, and food uneaten. Not chaos, not fire and smoke, just absence. You walk farther, your footsteps echoing across the empty streets. You climb a small hill over the valley. Nothing, no smoke, no fires, just horizon stretched across the plains of Wyoming. You are almost certainly alone. Some areas of the country would have fewer casualties. Sparsely populated states like Wyoming, Montana, and Alaska are more likely to have survivors. Remote mountain ranges, dense forests, and wide plains might have escaped direct strikes. But even then, isolation is total, and the human presence is minimal. The wind brushes through the grass, the sun casts long shadows, and the only sound that remains is the persistent static from the radio. Back inside the cabin, the broadcast continues. A reminder that the world you once knew does not exist anymore. The systems left running, the voices on the radio, the lights which were never turned off. So they are echoes of what was, not of what is. And for the first time, the truth sinks in. You are alive. But most people are not. You start thinking, obviously you have to survive, but where do you even begin? Water, it's the first thing. Without clean water, survival is measured in days. In Wyoming, streams and rivers exist, but radiation contamination is a big issue. Boiling, of course, helps, but some radiation particles cannot be removed by heat. You realize that you'll need filtration, careful sourcing, and constant attention. When it comes to food, pantries might have some supplies, but long-term sourcing is not guaranteed, and long-term surviving requires planning. Hunting and preservation of food becomes essential, but again, some of the wildlife may have been contaminated by the radiation fallout, so you'll have to be careful for that too. You think of edible plants, root vegetables, and fish from clean rivers. Every bite could be a gamble. Now, when it comes to the shelter, the cabin you are currently staying in might offer temporary solutions, but prolonged isolation and radiation fallout exposure might not be safe. So you'll have to consider these things. Reinforcing windows and doors, avoiding low-lying areas where radiation could accumulate, finding higher ground for long-term safety. Heat and fire. With no electricity, no power, no gas, you'll need to rely on something else, like wood burners, portable fuel, and actual fire. And every flame is visible, and in a world with only a few survivors, visibility carries risk. Information and communication. Now, the only source of information and communication you have will be in the form of a radio. But it's only one way. And all the messages on that radio are automated because there are no operators left. So there are no clear instructions as to what you can do to survive. So you are pretty much on your own. Staying put is obviously the safer option, but eventually you'll need to adapt to the hunter-gatherer scenario. Now you begin to think of options. You can stay put, gather some supplies, and just wait it out. Or you can start moving right now and find other resources. The choice is obviously yours to make. It's possible that the next survival pocket is hundreds of miles away. You begin to explore. Every step is careful. It is a step into the unknown. After a nuclear war, most cities would be inhabitable for weeks or months. Fallout spreads unevenly, making some areas deadly while others remain relatively safe. Open plains and remote areas like Wyoming may survive relatively intact, but supplies are scarce. Emergency broadcasts are designed to run automatically in the absence of operators. In a large catastrophe, these systems may continue for days, even weeks, giving survivors fragmented information and a sense of connection to the world that no longer functions.
Every choice carries consequences. Scarcity, isolation, and radiation are huge threats. No smoke, no signs of movement. Nothing. It's just silence.
Survival is no longer a question of escaping the danger. It's a question of endurance, adapting to the loneliness, adapting to the world that no longer has a place for you. You glance outside, the horizon is infinite, and there is no sound except the whispers of the wind. The radio continues, the ghostly reminder that civilization existed once. A world that is over, but echoes in static. You take a deep breath, and you know that tomorrow will be the same as today, and the days after that too. If you're hearing this broadcast, most people are already dead. And in that realization, you understand what it really means to be one of the last. The silence closes in and the world waits.